Hello, Stampin' friends. This is Dee Osburn. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today we're going to make this beautiful Christmas card. It was one of my favorites from this year, and I wanted to share it with you. So if you like this content, if you like this video, please push the like button. Leave me a comment. I will comment back. I love getting comments, and I will comment back to you. If you want to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. Make sure that you click that bell button so that you are notified when I upload new videos. And everything that we're doing today will be in the description below. I'll have links for everything. And I just wanted to let you know that if you do click on one of the links below, I will receive a small compensation. So thank you in advance for that. All right, let's get started. I'm going to show you everything that we're going to use first, and then I'll show you how I put this card together. So no worries about trying to remember everything because I will have the list down below in the description. The first thing we're going to use is a piece of mint macaron cardstock, and it is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4 1/4. The next piece we're going to use is from the silver foil specialty paper pack, and I am going to, oh, you can see my reflection. I'm going to use this shiny one. Wow, it's so shiny you can see your reflection in it. There are 3 pieces in this pack. I love this pack. It's in the mini catalog. There's this dark one. There's a matted gray one, and then this silver shiny one that I'm going to use for this card. So we're going to use that, and it is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. 5 1/4 by 4. We are going to use this paper from the Whimsy and Wonder Designer Series paper, and it is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. We're also going to use from the same pack, we're going to use this mint green piece from the Whimsy and Wonder Designer Series paper. This is what it looks like on the other side, but we're going to use this piece. We're going to use, and it doesn't, it's just going to be a scrap of it because we're going to cut out this tree right here. So just a small piece of this, I'll cut it out and use it. We're going to use just a small scrap of the bedazzling paper. This was from the Celebration that has ended. So if you didn't get this in Celebration, you can use pretty much any glitter paper or even a foil paper would look beautiful. I'm also going to use a smaller scrap of mint macaron. It's just a scrap, and it's to cut the sentiment out. We're going to use a scrap of crumb cake. We're going to cut one of the trees out with that. And I like to put an inside to the card. So we're going to have a piece of basic white, and there's the inside. So this is cut to 5 1/4 by 4. So that's for the inside where you will write your message. We will also be using the Christmas trees dies, and these are the dies that we'll be using out of that set. We will be using the Whimsical Trees stamp set. We're going to use this stamp and this stamp. We're going to use Blushing Bride ink to stamp one of the trees. That will be this tree right here. And we will be using the stamp set, or the stamp with the dots on it, and be using some Versamark and some silver embossing powder to make that. We will be stamping our sentiment in crumb cake. And behind our sentiment, we will put some silver cord, and that comes from the Simply Elegant Trim pack. All right, that takes care of all of our supplies, you will need some glue and some stamping dimensionals as well. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of cardstock, our mint macaron, and we're going to fold it to make our card base. We're going to use our bone folder to fold it down nice and flat. After we do that, we will put our inside piece in. So let's do that. We're just going to glue that in with our multi-purpose glue. So let's go ahead and do that. Get our area ready for our message that you're going to write to whoever you give this card to. All right, then we're going to put down, we're going to put down our shiny silver piece. So let's do that. And all the dimensions will be down below as well. So we're going to put that down. Then on top of that, we will put this piece. I love the back side of this. Isn't it great? Absolutely. I just love it. I'm going to make a card with that. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but I absolutely love it, and I want to use it. I love all the pink. That's my favorite color, pink. So we're going to put this on top of here like that. And now we're ready to build our tree scene. All right. So in order to build our tree scene, we need our die cuts. So the first one that we're going to cut is this one. And with that one, we're going to use this designer series paper. So I'm just going to cut a little strip of this off and use it. All right, so I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back. All right, so I ran that through my Big Shot. Stampin' Up! Has a new cut and emboss machine, and I will leave you a link to that below as well. So we're going to cut that out. We're not going to glue it down yet because now we're going to take our sparkly paper. We're going to just cut a piece of that off, and we're going to use this die cut. So you see, we only need a strip of it about that big, and that's going to make the garland. So let's go do that. Okay, so I wanted to show you how nicely this comes out. This paper fits perfectly into the machine, so I didn't really have to cut it. That saved me a little bit of time. So I'm going to take this off, and this will just pop out so nicely. This die works so well. This garland just pops right out. Look at that. Is that not just beautiful? And then we're going to glue it on top of there. Ah, I love it already. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our crumb cake piece. Just to get a scrap of crumb cake, and we're going to use this die, and we're going to cut it out. So I could really use about half of this piece of paper. So let's go do that. All right, so I did that. See, I really only needed half that, so I'll be able to cut that piece off and save this extra piece for something else. Now, I'm going to use my paper snips to punch out these pieces that I don't need. You see? So, and then it's in here pretty good. So what I do is I, again, use my paper snips, and sometimes I use, those little, I don't know, needle looking things that you tie up a turkey with. Sometimes I use those as well. But your paper snips work perfectly, and you just push through where these little dots are, these little holes. You just push through, and when you do that, it loosens it, and you can just pull it right off. Be careful that you don't tear it when you do that, and it comes out beautifully, right? All right, so that is going to go. Oh, I have a little piece there. I need to get rid of that. My little scraps fell onto my card. All right, so that piece will go behind this tree, We are going to put rhinestones on here, so that will be in the link below as well. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of white cardstock, basic white cardstock, and again, you just need a scrap, and we're going to stamp with this stamp set, this stamp, and we're going to use Blushing Bride ink. Blushing Bride. Open that up. We're going to ink up our stamp set. Ink it up nice and good. And we're going to stamp the tree down here. I'm going to stamp it over here so that I can use the paper that I don't use. This piece. I can save that and use it for something else. So there's that. When I'm done with my stamp, let me show you. I use the Stampin' Scrub, which if you don't have one of these, this is like a must-have kind of tool. And you spray the wet side with the Stampin' Spray cleaner. You clean see, it scrubs it up real nice. And then this side dries it. And then you have this beautifully clean stamp again. So Stampin' Scrub is one of my favorite tools. I think it's a must-have for quick and easy stamping. You can always run your stamps under the water and then dry them. That takes a lot more time. So the Stampin' Scrub is just a wonderful tool. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to let that dry for just a few minutes before we put our Versamark and embossing powder on it. And when you emboss, you need a heat tool. And I will show you the one that I have. So I have a Doris that I got ages ago. It's been well loved. This is a Doris heat tool. And like I said, I got this ages ago. I've had this for well over 10 years. Stampin' Up sells a wonderful one, so you can get it from Stampin' Up, or you can pretty much get a heat tool anywhere. So I will leave links to those things for you down below. So what we'll do here is we're going to take our Versamark and we're going to ink up our stamp. And this time we are going to use this stamp. So we're going to ink it up with the Versamark. Ink it up real good. Get that Versamark all on that stamp. And then we're going to, you won't be able to see it, but you just line it up with the tree, stamp it down. You can't see that I did anything, but I did. So now we're going to put our embossing powder on it, and I'm going to use silver embossing powder. You could use gold, but I thought silver really went with the silver in the pink paper. This has a little gold and silver in it, so really on this you could use either color. So I went with silver, and I don't know, you can get silver embossing powder pretty much anywhere. Stampin' Up! Has gone away from selling so much embossing powder, but you can get embossing powder pretty much anywhere. And I will leave links to where you can get that down below as well. So I'm very generous with it. As you can see, I pretty much cover my entire image. And then you just shake it off. And usually I would be using an embossing buddy, but I'm going to cut this out. So the fact that I have, embossing powder elsewhere on there doesn't matter. If you were stamping something that you didn't want extra on there, you would use an embossing buddy. And this is an embossing buddy. It's just I kind of like this little tiny pillow. And it's full of some kind of powder. I would imagine talcum powder. I have no idea what's inside of it, actually. Some kind of powder. and you would rub where you're going to emboss, and then you would put the Versamark and the embossing powder on top, and it won't stick where there's no Versamark. It'll only stick where there's Versamark. So like here and here where you can see some embossing powder, it won't stick when you use the embossing buddy, and that's a good thing. So, but it doesn't matter that I have that on there because I'm going to cut this tree out. So I'm going to use this die and I'm going to go cut that out. So I'm going to go do that right now. I'll be right back. No, before I cut it out, I need to heat emboss it. All right, so I'm going to go do that and I'm going to cut it out and I'll be right back. All right, as you can see, when I applied the heat, see how the little decorations on the tree became shiny and they're a little bit raised. I love embossing powder. I call it magic because it's pretty amazing. I love it. When it goes from the kind of matted color silver to the shiny silver, it really is kind of magic. So, all right, let's put this guy together. Okay, so we're going to glue him together. We're going to glue this piece first. So we're going to turn the garland over and put a little bit of glue on the tips of the garland. So at the top, and just a little bit, you don't want it oozing out. You don't need much. So just a tiny bit on the tips of the garland. So nice and controlled little bits. I'm going to turn it over. And I typically line it up at the top. So you can hold it in the center because there's no glue there. Line it up at the top, and this is glue, so you have a few minutes to move it around. Put it up at the top. Put it where I want it at the bottom. And then start sticking it down. Isn't that beautiful? Let's turn it over. Make sure it gets stuck on there nice and good. Okay, if you have any spots that aren't sticking, you can re-glue them. Sometimes it takes a minute for that glue to dry. That's the beauty of the glue. It gives you time to move things around. Now it's done. Now it's all on there. So we're going to, stuck to my paper. We're going to glue it down right there. So let's do that. Let's put a little glue on the back. And we're just going to glue it down right there to the left side because we're going to build the other trees on top. Now before that dries too much, I'm going to put some glue on this one. Just dot it here and there. And I'm going to slide it under this green tree right here on the edge. Just like that. So it's not quite as tall, but almost. Okay, and get those stuck down real nice. Turn it over. Now, if your page keeps getting sticky, like you can kind of hear mine is a little sticky, you can take this, I love this thing, and you can erase this little eraser. You can erase the sticky spots on your paper, on your work surface, so that things don't stick to it anymore. I will put a link to that product in the description below as well. Now we're going to put this one down. And we're going to use glue again. So just going to put some glue on the back. And you're going to have to hold this one down for just a couple of minutes because you're gluing it onto a couple of layers here. So you're going to line it up so that it's a little bit lower than the other trees, but you want it over enough that it kind of goes in between those two trees, just like that. And then you're going to hold it down till it dries because the glue is there in the center. You can turn it over. I like turning it over because I don't know. I don't know. I just like doing that. I feel like it helps it stick down pretty nicely. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do our sentiment. So we're going to take that little piece of mint macaron that we had, and we're going to stamp in crumb cake. And I have this sentiment: may the love of the season warm your home and fill your heart. So we're going to ink this up in crumb cake. And we're going to stamp it. And then I'll show you how I cut it out. You could fussy cut that out. I'm going to clean my stamp so that I can put it away when I'm done, nice and clean and dry. You could fussy cut that out, or you could use this tag die that I'm going to show you. So this is called the Messages die, and it goes with 2 stamp sets that have all kinds of different sentiments, and then you cut them all out at one time. I'm going to use this one. You don't have to cut all of these all at one time. You can just place this on top. And I used this. I could have used some other die, but I liked how it just fit. It fits so perfectly. So that's the one I used. So we're going to go and we're going to cut this out. It will cut these little pieces. I don't care about that. I'm just going to throw that away. If you had a smaller little scrap, you wouldn't waste that. So I'll go do that right now. So that cut that out just perfectly. Now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to use a couple of glue dots on the back to put my cord. All right, so let's put a couple of glue dots on there real quick. I have to say I'm not a fan of the glue dots on the inside. Stampin' Up used to have them on the outside of the roll. And I guess, it would get stuck to other things if you weren't careful. But it was certainly quicker to use when it was on the outside. But that's how they are now. They're on the inside. So I'm going to take this cord and I'm going to wrap it around about 4 times. And I'm only going to wrap it around my 3 fingers, okay? Because this is a small little piece. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to wrap it around about 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to snip it. Okay. And I'm going to glue it down. I'm going to stick it down to this glue dot. And then it makes this great loopy. If you have one that's sticking up and it's not cooperating, you can just stick it down to that second glue dot. Isn't that great? Okay, now I'm going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals and I'm going to pop this guy up. So I'm going to put one there. I'll put one in the center and I'm going to put one right there. Okay, we'll take the backs off of the dimensionals and we'll place our sentiment right here. Okay, nice and straight. Now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put some rhinestones on that crumb cake tree. Now, I'm just using the Rhinestone Basic Jewels, and I'm going to use the smaller ones, and my scissors pick them up perfectly. So I'm just going to put them on, I think, the little corners. Maybe right there. I call them corners. I guess they're not really corners. They're kind of like points. Oh, these guys are popping off like crazy here. Let's put one right there. We'll put one maybe right there, and maybe put another one on the edge. Ooh, I'm liking it. And then we can put one right here and one on the edge. Maybe right there. And I think that might do it. I could put one right there, but I'm going to put one on my sentiment right here. And maybe I will put one right there, hiding underneath there. What do you think? There you have it. Beautiful Christmas tree. I'm thinking I might move this one up just a touch. You might be stuck. Yep, I don't want to tear my card. So I'm going to leave him there. And that is this card. So I sure hope you enjoyed it. It's really fun to make, super easy, lots of layers, which I love. And if you liked this video, please hit the like button, leave me a comment. Like I said, I will comment back. I will comment back to all comments. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much. If you have not, it would really help me out if you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified when I upload new videos. I will put a link below with all of the things that I used here. And I thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon.